What's up, fam, and welcome to season 2, episode 7 of BBI Talks. And I'm your host, Professor KARRIEMAH LOTUS. BBI Talks is the platform where Black business owners and leaders discuss issues that matter to us. Today's topic: not all treats in the snack industry. Our featured Black business is SYMPHONY Chips, and we are welcoming its proud owner, Brother DONDRE Anderson. On episode 5, we discussed the importance of building generational wealth. And on this episode, we're going to continue the discussion as we have another conversation with a business owner who got his daughters involved in the development of their family business very early in the game. So, BBI Talks, you know what it is. Let's go.
We gotta bring businesses back. My business is black. My business is black as the universe. I know why they mad. They gotta react. Cause we're universal influencers. I can supply you the man. Get what I need out the land. The earth is the kingdom of God. Glad that I know where I am. We gotta bring businesses back. My business is black. My business is black as the universe. I know why they mad. They gotta react. Cause we're universal influencers. I can supply you the man. I can supply you the man. Get what I need out the land. Glad that I know where I am.
We are broadcasting live from RICE, which is the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs, right here in Southwest Atlanta. Sometimes the activities that you share with your children can actually be developed into a successful brand. As a part of our Generational Wealth series, SYMPHONY Chips founder, Brother DONDRE, and his 2 daughters, AMINA and AMARI, spent their quality time in the kitchen throwing down together. That was their favorite pastime. It eventually turned into a tasty potato chip brand that would make its mark in the $7.4 billion potato chip industry. It didn't take long before the journey to success would be met with great challenges. Brother Anderson will share all the obstacles he and his family have faced and how they were able to persevere in spite of it all. So, without further ado, what's up, Brother DONDRE Anderson?
Hey, what's up?
Welcome to BBI Talks. I thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's definitely a blessing and an honor to be in your presence, Professor.
Ooh, look, you done put a little sauce on that. Okay, so we're going to get started. We're going to jump right into the interview because I can't wait to hear your story. Now, I was doing some research, Brother DONDRE, and I saw, quite a few different scenarios in the family business, how you got started. And so I want to clarify. I want to set the record straight today on how SYMPHONY Chips actually began.
So SYMPHONY Chips was started by my dad. Well, actually, let's take a step back. All A Spices is the actual parent company, right? Because we started as a spice company and started with my dad. So my dad is a retired restaurant chef from the famous Las Vegas Strip. And while he was on the Strip, he developed a wonderful, wonderful spice. And he took it with him into retirement. And it wasn't until I went to Vegas to visit him when I can't remember if it was summer or fall. It's the same there year round. Well, at least back then it was. Now they're getting seasons in Vegas. But anyway, I went back to visit him, and he made me breakfast one morning. And let me tell you something. I think everybody at some point in their life has had eggs in the morning, right? At some point in their life.
Yeah.
And so, normally, you put a little salt and pepper on there, and that's normally it. However you handle them, scrambled, over easy, whatever your liking is. Well, so Pops made these eggs for me one morning, and it had this really, really unique flavor. I was like, well, what is this? Because I was getting hit with so many different things on my palate. I'm like, what is this? I've never had any eggs like this before. He was like, my Pops from that generation where, ain't nothing a big deal. It's like, it's just something I sprinkle on my eggs all the time. Ain't no big deal. So I'm like,
little gold spice on there.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you have like changed my life. What is this? I want to put this. I want this all the time. And so he sat me down. He told me, about him developing the spice on the Strip, and I was like, well, so what are you doing with this? And he was like, well, I'm just putting it on my eggs. I said, dude, we gotta do something with this. I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to try and see what, I know it's not just me. I think other people would love this as well. How you feel about bottling it and selling it? And he was like, sure, have at it. So that's exactly what I did. So back in, this is like maybe like right around like 2009, somewhere in there. I started looking, the internet was semi-new at that point.
Okay.
And I started Googling, how do you develop a spice company, right? And of course, nothing came back. And so I just began kind of stalking people in grocery stores to see how people buy spices. And people, and I would actually go to the high-end stores. So if you're familiar with the Atlanta area, there's a few high-end stores like the Fresh Market, like Whole Foods, and the Farmers Market, for example. So I would go there and I would look at how people bought spices, and more in particular, the spice blends. And lots of times people, if they had pretty packaging, they would just buy it. That was amazing to me. I'm like, wow, if it looked pretty, you just put it in your basket. I'm like, okay, well, let's go for pretty packaging. So I did that. And yeah. So I did that. And we actually we were able to get into a health food store. And if you're familiar with Atlanta, it's a store in an area called Little 5 Points called 7 Under. Yeah, I always give a shout out to 7 Under because that's where it all began.
Yeah, my big brother Wanique Shabazz, I believe, is over the board out there. So please shout out to 7 Under.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we they let us in, and we put our spices with the pretty packaging on the shelf.
Come on.
And it stayed right there on the shelf.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, so why does it work for other people? Don't seem to work for us. So we decided to say, hey, let's just do some in-store demos. Maybe we can let people try it. So I'm pretty sure if they try this spice, they'll be hooked for life.
Right.
So that's exactly what we did. We got into the store. We put it on raw vegetables and popcorn because it's all natural, gluten-free, non-GMO, and vegan friendly. So we got, we hit those 4 points with people, and they were always willing to try it. And people tried it and bought it. It was real good. I was like, I love this. This is great. This is great because you feel a sense of validation when you have a new product. And it doesn't have any traction, nobody knows about it. But when you get when people try it and love it, then it feels great because hey, we got something.
That's right.
Right. So we would sell out, and that was fabulous. And so we said, well, hey, maybe we can sell out faster, because it was like, hey, maybe we could go travel to different stores, and we just maybe spend 4 hours worth of demoing, but do it in like 4 different stores. And then now we got a little scalable business model if we can sell out in 30 minutes or less.
That's right.
So that's what that's what we're going for. So we had the idea of doing a live cooking demonstration, because that always draws people. So we decided to make potato chips, but again, just as a way for people to try spices. It was never meant to be, a potato chip brand. So we put it, we fried up the potatoes. It was literally fried them up, took them out of the oil, put them on the paper towel, sprinkled the seasoning on there, and then boom, handed them out. And people were like, okay, so you're a spice company? So, yeah, we sell, this is our spices right here. They're like, okay, the spices are cool, man, but what are the chips at? Are they on the chip aisle? Can I go get a bag of these? I need a bag. I need a whole bag. I can't give me this little bitty sample. I need a bag of these. And these people were serious.
Wow.
And people were like, look, I'm a chip connoisseur. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was even a thing, but okay. All right, connoisseur. They're like, these are the most flavorful chips we've ever had in my entire life. And when you got people from all walks of life telling you the exact same words, you got to pay attention. I definitely believe, God in the universe works through people. So I said, okay, well, look, if people are going bananas over this, then let's maybe we do this on a larger scale.
That's right.
So we actually decided to look at a supply chain, and figure out how we can get our spices commercially blended, and finding a co-packer, what have you. And so we did all that, found a co-packer, got our spices blended. So that way, when we first came out with our potato chips, we never fried one batch in our kitchen. I say that with very, very, very high sense of pride, because lots of people say, well, I'll just do it myself. Well, okay, but I was kind of the mindset is, what if the right person tries this bag of chips I made in my kitchen and they say, you know what, I need 10,000. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, well, I would quit. I would quit. I was like, well, I've reached the peak of this business. Let me go on back to work, because this ain't gonna work out for me. I'll be darned if I sit in my kitchen and fry up 10,000 bags of chips. Right. So I wanted to begin with the end in mind, right? If the idea is to be a national brand and be international, then we got to think on those levels and of that scale. So I said, I definitely want. If my business fails, it won't be because we could not supply the demand. That was my main thing. And I want
to stop you there for one moment, because I think that's very, very important, that you just shared, that I think other business owners can pull from, and that is thinking with the end in mind, thinking with the understanding that your business is at some point going to have to scale, and begin planning what that scale process is going to look like, whether it be you getting another vendor to provide, I guess in this case, to provide your chips, whether it be if you have another product line or what have you, sourcing or at least lining up who you would go to. So if you're in a clothing business, okay, who is it that I can find locally? That would be my preference, local, to be able to sew my garments, sew my clothing line, right? Because one of the things, and I just want to share this briefly, one of the things that we're finding, especially in the midst of this pandemic, that I'm cautioning business owners, Black business owners especially, about, is sourcing too much of their products overseas. Because one of the things that we learned from this pandemic is that the first thing that shut down was that shipping. And that meant that whatever you had in your inventory, that was it. And you couldn't make any more money. And then even today, okay, and we're now, coming out of what it used to be, right, with the quarantine, there are business owners that are still finding it difficult to get product in from internationally. And so finding alternatives domestically is exceptionally important. So I just wanted to kind of share that, because I think what you brought up was a very, very good point that we need to pull from, definitely.
Yeah. And then also, when you talk about planning, right? Lots of business owners, I feel like when you have a business, it's just like having a child. You can read all the information you want to, but once that child is born, nothing really prepares you for it. I mean, you can go get an MBA in business, you get a PhD in business, right? You can start teaching business, but until you run one yourself, you really don't. Nothing really prepares you. It doesn't. Right. And your business is an extension of who you are. It really is. And I don't think a lot of people pay attention to that or even preach that. It's an extension of who you are, because I had to make decisions in the very beginning, like, hey, I had to make decisions. I don't want to be in my kitchen frying chips. Do I enjoy making potato chips, homemade chips? Absolutely. I enjoy making a lot of meals, right? But then do I want to do it on a 10,000, order scale? Do I want to do that? Well, I know there's machinery out there that does it. When I first moved to Georgia, I saw the big Frito-Lay plant. So I know there's the capabilities are enormous. Absolutely. But I had to make the decision. What did I want for me? Right? For me, it's to your point of your show, it's building generational wealth, and it's doing it in such a way whereas it's not us in the kitchen frying chips as a family together, but instead we're running a business versus having a job.
Yeah, that's right.
So I went with that ideology, right? Beginning with the end in mind, about running a company versus, like I said, owning a job. So our next step is, once we got the supply chain done and all that, then we, you know, introduced it to the world online. And so luckily, you know, where my daughters came into play was when we were actually frying the potato chips live in the store. You know, I had my daughters who were, I think they were like, this is like 2015. No. It's like 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. They were actually out there handing out chips. It was about 6 years ago. So they were about 11 and 12, right? And who says no to little girls? Nobody does.
Ask
You
girls.
know, exactly. Nobody says no to little girls that have these little aprons on. They're all cute. You know, nobody says no to them. Like, what you got, little girl? You got some chips? Okay, I'll try them. And it was changing people's lives. It was like, look, if you've never been to a black church and don't know what revival is, that's what was happening. We was having revival in that store, because all you heard was, "Oh, Jesus, hallelujah. Oh my God, where are these at?" You know, so it was great. You know, that was definitely the launching pad we needed as far as confidence builder was being in 7 Under. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And we're looking at the generation from your father to you, now to your daughters. And also you made a point a moment ago about not sure if someone teaches about how business is an extension of yourself. Well, I teach that. I actually did a tour throughout Memphis and South Haven, Mississippi, called Self-Improvement: The Basis for Business Development. And of course, it's a play on a self-improvement study guide called Self-Improvement: The Basis for Community Development that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan published. And it's basically letting business owners know that when you transform you transform your business. There is a direct extension of one to the other. So I don't want to get into what I teach on that series, but I do teach about that, because I think it's important that we get away from this old understanding of what business is and how business functions, because it doesn't serve us. So I wanted to ask you, as it relates to your daughters, now they participated in terms of helping to sell the potato chips. Do they have an active role today in helping to build out the brand?
So this is the part where I get a chance to brag on my now 18 and 19-year-old daughters, right? Okay. So we'll start with my oldest, Amina. Amina is studying to be a film student. So what Amina does is, in every product needs this, is you need product shots, product photography, you need commercials, you need video content, you need all of that. So I had the luxury of leaning on her for a lot of our video content.
Awesome.
So, you know, she was in charge of that, as well as being the account manager. So the accounts that we've gotten and are still maintaining, she actually is the lead on that.
Beautiful.
And then Amari, my younger daughter, she's the production manager. So like when we were featured on Good Morning America, for example, we actually had to, we got like about 9,000 orders in one day. And she actually ran the warehouse facility. When I say run it, let me be clear. So we had about 15 to 20 people working to fulfill orders, and she was over the processing of the orders and making sure, you know, they had all the chips they needed, the inventory they needed, and then she actually coordinated the logistics to get the chips picked up from, at that point, the post office, to have them actually shipped out to our customers. So she oversaw all of that.
Amazing. And how old is she?
She was 17 when she did it.
Awesome.
And so I'm a strong believer in, if I see other people who run companies get their kids involved who have no experience whatsoever, I think I was like, well, why can't I do that too? I really believe that it's not the fact that the young people aren't capable. It's just giving them the right situations and then taking the right time to teach them. And then they can do it all. And they've shown me that they have the capacity to run it, you know, long after, you know, I decided to retire on that beach in the Mediterranean, you know, so. Hey, like I said, you gotta begin with the end in mind.
That's right. So now I want to tell you, what my introduction to Symphony chips were. This is long before I was introduced to you, right? And I definitely give a shout out to Sister Chris Hale with RICE for making this introduction. And you're going to see a lot more of the wonderful founders. We call them Founding 100 here at RICE. You're going to see more businesses, Black-owned businesses being featured from RICE in particular on my show. And I'm very, very excited about this because there's some powerhouses under this roof, and you are one of them. But I wanted to let you know my first introduction to Symphony Chips was actually at Olu Cafe, which was another Black-owned. They were trying to become a cooperative. They never got that far, but it was a nice little quaint cafe. I don't even know what side of town that's considered to be. I'm still.
It was East Point, right?
East Point. Okay, I'm not sure because the lines sometimes I get a little confused, but in East Point, and I love to go there to get my coffee in the morning, sit there and just kind of chill. And I'm looking to my left when I was, doing my little refill on the coffee, and I see this wonderful display, and it says Symphony Chips, and I said, what's Symphony Chips? And so the sister was like, oh, it's a Black-owned potato chip company. I was like, word? There are Black-owned potato chip companies? I was like, I want to check this out. And needless to say, I was hooked from the first time I had them. They were awesome. I mean, just incredible. I loved just I loved the blend. It had somewhat of like a Cajun feel to it. Just very flavorful, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I want you to kind of share what are some of the other flavors, because I know there are several in your collection of products. So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the flavor options that you have.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you tried the original.
Yes.
The original flavor, I like to call that our gateway chip, right? Because there's every exactly it is. Chips are like a drug. Once you get the right one, you hooked. You're hooked. And that's exactly what we're going after.
Drug culture or anything, but I watched New Jack City.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And I'm trying to get the Carter.
For a potato chip, y'all. For potato chips, let's be clear.
For a potato, you can have a whole potato chip experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we and then also let me also say how we came up with the name Symphony. So my dad also believes that every bite should be harmonious. These are his words. And then we said, well, we got to call it the Symphony because it's a 28 urban spice blend. So coming back to your question, first is the original. And we named it the original because every potato chip company out there has an original flavored chip. I said, so we're going to go into this market. Let's go hard. Let's go right for the jugular. And people will try our original flavor already knowing in the back of their mind what it's going to taste like. It's just like everybody else. Okay. But then they try ours like, oh my God, this is like nothing I've ever had before in my life. And I love to watch their whole opinion of potato chips change in the instant. Like, oh, we got somebody real right now. Okay, y'all ain't playing. Exactly. That's why I call it the gateway, because now you're interested in the other flavors. Like, okay, what else you got? I want to try it all, right?
You came in the game hitting it hard with the flavors. Like you didn't play with it at all. I loved it.
No, you got to go right for the jugular. Because I know who else is in the industry. So I said I got to do something that separates us. But I need an introduction, so that way people aren't afraid of the word original flavor potato chips. They're not. This is something they're used to, right? So if you want to enter the market, you enter in with something people are already used to seeing, used to trying. So what? No big deal. What? No big learning curve for that, right?
That's right.
So now the next one was the learning curve, which was our smoked chips. So everybody has a barbecue chip. Every company does. I said, so how do we differentiate ourselves? Because every barbecue flavored chip mimics some kind of barbecue sauce.
Right.
And if you're a true barbecue connoisseur, you ain't interested in the sauce. You're interested in the flavor of the protein that you're actually consuming. You want that grilled or smoked flavor. That's what you want.
Yeah.
If you're a true connoisseur, if you ain't, there's some people out there who just You just, you give them a plate of barbecue, first thing you do is pour sauce all over it. Oh, okay. There's those folks, and Lord knows all the family reunions we went to where Uncle Bob was on the grill, and you need that sauce to save that dry meat that he just cooked, right? let's just keep it real.
Killed it.
Yeah, literally. Again, it was already dead when it came. Now it's dead again.
Right, it went from killed to killed.
Right, killed. Exactly. So we developed the smoke flavor with that idea in mind. Like, how about a chip that tastes like it just came off the grill before they add the sauce?
Yes.
And so people were like, "Oh my God, you got it! You got it round the head. This is what I'm talking about." And so it's true barbecue connoisseurs out there. So that's what that chip is for.
Okay, well, we're gonna pause right here because I told you about we had that commercial break, and I also want to thank our viewers. Thank you, those of you who are checking us out on YouTube and Facebook. They're watching right now. Thank you for tuning in to BBI Talks. Yeah, he's giving y'all high fives and everything. I want to thank those of you on Instagram Live for joining in the conversation. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop your comment or your question in that little comment box there, and you know what to do on the other platforms. We're going to go into our sponsors, our proud sponsors of BBI Talks. Without them, there would be no BBI Talks. And I'm greatly appreciative for everything that you do to support our show. And my awesome producer is going to go ahead and get us going with our sponsor.
PS Naturally Yours 1614 Oil. Let all things be done with love. 1614 is a nourishing hair, skin, and nail oil cultivated to transform your self-care routine with our unique natural essential oils that features sweet vanilla, citrus with a hint of cinnamon. PS Naturally Yours 1614 oil is now available at psnaturallyyours.com.
This episode of BBI Talks is brought to you by our proud sponsor, Abdullah Daniels Group, LLC. We are a full-service life insurance agency that represents multiple carriers in all 50 states. For more details, log on to our website at adgllc.org or call us at 404-561-7480. Abdullah Daniels Group, Life Insurance Agency.
All right, so we're back. We're talking about the flavors, pond flavors. So we went from the original, which had that Cajun blend, and we went into the smoked, and I could just picture me with my smoked chicken. Oh, no. Okay. And then now the next flavor is
the balsamic flavor.
Ooh.
I definitely have to give a shout out to the person who gave me the idea for the balsamic flavor, which was Cedar Lash from the Puff Cuff, who is actually another one of the founding 100 members of RICE. So big shout out to her. So the next flavor we were going after was salt and vinegar. So that's another huge flavor that America seems to love. So we said, well, how can we what flavor can we do that can still be all natural, gluten-free, vegan friendly, and so we came up with the balsamic flavor, and it and again, it's another title that people are not afraid of. Everybody somewhere along the lines has some balsamic dressing before.
Oh,
and most of the time people love it. So they're like, balsamic on the chip. And now, mind you, now we're separating ourselves from the pack because nobody has a balsamic flavored chip out there. That doesn't exist. So we have that flavor. But then the next thing we're doing is we're coming back with the spice line, because we're a spice company underneath, right? So if you enjoy it, so we're keeping that same model just on a much larger scale. Try the chips, then buy the spices.
That's right. Oh, I love it.
So then my daughter Amina came up with a gluten-free and low-carb fry mix. So that's coming out as well after the spices. It's going to be based on the spices. So if you like the original flavors, smoked or balsamic, now you can fry your proteins that you want in it, and it tastes amazing. Then my youngest daughter Amari came up with a pastry line based upon our spices as well. So I know you're like, okay, wait, these are like savory spices. how you do a pastry with that? Well,
Right.
Mari she came up with this at 15 or 16 years old. She came up with a recipe based upon our sweet potato seed seasoning that we have, and she created this this process of remaking. For instance, she made a chocolate cake out of it one time. Now, mind you, I don't like chocolate cake, and whoever out there loves chocolate cake, good for you. I'm one of the people who don't like chocolate cake. It's just one of them things. But when she made it, it changed the flavor profile. So it wasn't chocolate cake anymore. It was something else. And she figured out how to do it with the icing also. So now you got the icing that pairs with the cake, and it's just ridiculous. So I'm looking forward to people trying that as well.
Now, when you say that, I'm thinking about Mexican chocolate, and how in Mexico they take the chocolate and they add spices, they add savory spices to it, and that's huge. And so, I mean, I can see we had something over the New Year's. What are they called? They're called chocolate bombs. That's something else maybe to look into. And the chocolate bombs, one of them we had was a Mexican chocolate. So once again, the chocolate with the savory spices in it, and it actually melts down into your hot chocolate, and it just was just wonderful treat. So it's just something to think about for the holidays. I'm just gonna leave you with that, to run with it. Don't nobody else out there take that idea. It's for Symphony Chip Shop.
No, I got you. I've actually already contacted the most prestigious chocolate maker in the world. Awesome. We've established a relationship. So I ain't gonna go into details about what we talked about, but we here.
We there.
We there.
Look,
and then lastly, we have a next phase of potato chip line is coming out. It's called our aioli line. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you've given us so much to look out for. Now, how do we get our hands on Symphony chips? Look, we sitting here talking about it. How can we go get them?
So right now we have, you can buy them online. We ship directly to your door, no matter where your door is, anywhere in the world.
And your website?
And our website is symphonychips.com. I think it just popped up on the screen there. Right down there is the website, www.symphonychips.com.
Yes.
And you can go. Now, if you're in the Atlanta area, you can get them in any Atlanta area to Target. We're in all the Target stores, also Walmarts as well. And then if you're in the Pacific Northwest, we're in the Amazon Fresh stores.
Awesome. So now we're gonna pivot into our topic today, right? So not all treats in the snack industry. And one of the things that I've noticed, I know we had Wrap Snacks, is another line of potato chips, and I have not personally tried them yet. I do plan to, because I think it's important for us to support each other's brands that are business that is so critical. But one of the things that I noticed, I was actually out yesterday at Kroger looking for some Uncle P, which is Master P's line of products, and I didn't see him, and so I was very disappointed because I wanted to try his products. And so one of the things that I've noticed when it comes to Black-owned businesses, especially in the early stages, the distribution is difficult. The placement in terms of getting into these chains seems to be difficult. Or is it difficult? I don't know. I don't see as many of our brands there as you do the Lay's and some of the other big brands. So I wanted to ask someone who's in the industry to speak to that. Like, is that a challenge for you? Was it a challenge getting into a Target? Was it a challenge getting to a Walmart? Is it a challenge getting into Publix and Kroger? What has this experience been like for you with your brand?
Okay, so let me walk you through some of the challenges, but then some of the we'll say the what do I call it? The good parts. Okay. So as you mentioned, getting into grocery store chains, right? Well, some people have the misconception that you just walk up to the grocery store buyer, you catch them going between work in his car or her car, right? Say, hey, I got a braid. Check out my braid. Hey, get away from me, man. Police, right? Yeah, that's not the way that you want to do it. Unfortunately, this country operates on, through distributors. Now, now what's crazy about the United States of America, which is very different from like Mexico or Canada or even China or even South America, is that the distributors here in this country are not looking for your brand. Now, yeah, I say that. You say, well, wait a minute. There's supplier diversity programs. Well, let's talk about that. Supplier diversity programs most of the time are smoke and mirrors. What? But the government said this is good, and the people are initiatives around doing business with Black people, and this is how it's supposed to happen. Well, Black and brown people or minorities or what have you. Yeah, lies. Okay, and I say that because it doesn't make sense to me that you have a major distributor who has a supplier diversity program, and then you have a grocery store chain who also has a supplier diversity program. But why is it that Charlie from the grocery store chain supplier diversity program does not know Sally from the distribution supplier diversity program? Why don't they know each other? Why don't they talk? Because to me, they got these initiatives that are probably the same verbatim, maybe off a word or two here or there.
Right.
But if you're bringing a product in from the street in through a distributor to a grocery store chain, shouldn't they know each other? Shouldn't there be a pathway? Doesn't happen. Go ahead.
So with that said, does that mean, okay, so if we decide to cut out the distributor and go straight for the store and go through their diversity program, is that an inroad, or does it work out where they end up with no diversity whatsoever coming into their store?
Well, see, now you've entered into the land of catch-22.
Okay.
So the store will say, well, hey, we'll love to carry your product, but you got to go through this distributor.
They play too much.
And then then the other thing is, now if you go direct to the store, some stores will say, well, you can deliver directly to our store through a process called DSD, or direct to store delivery, which is where you actually deliver your product to the store and merchandise it, right? But going back to what we said in the beginning, what's that famous phrase? Begin with the end in mind.
Right.
Are you in business, or are you creating jobs for yourself?
Right. Because
most of these companies, they want to start you off in what they call a test program or test pilot. We just want to test you out. Right. Well, now there are large DSD companies in the United States, right, who cover, the whole country, but they're looking at it from a national perspective. This company says, we're going to try you out in 10, 15 stores. Let's just see how you do. Right. Okay, so you say, well, I listened to brother DONDRE on the Professor Lotus show. He said he don't want no job. He want a business. So I don't want a job either. So I'm gonna go find me a DSD company that'll take on this business, and then I'll just subcontract it out to them. I'll get my pricing together so I can take care of their cut that they're gonna cut and take, and then that way I can have a distribution company in there, and I can kick back, right? Okay, wrong. So what happens is a lot of these grocery store chains are doing this. And they say, well, we didn't realize we're creating this gap in services, but they are. They know what they're doing, because the larger distribution companies, they look at national, right? They got hundreds, if not thousands, of stores they service. When you say, well, hey, I got some new business for you, I got about 10 stores, they're like, what? Well, okay, well, we can do 10 stores for you, but it's going to cost you like $500 a store every time we go. So every time they go to the store, $500. That means if they're delivering your product, $500. If they're going to check on your product to merchandise it, which means bring it out of the back and bring it to the front of the store and put it on the shelf, $500.
So each trip could cost you $1,000 per store.
Well, no. If they're delivering product, they'll merchandise it at the same time. So that'll just be $500. And if they go back to just merchandise, it'll be $500. This is every time they go to the store, it's $500. It wouldn't be $1,000. It shouldn't be. Yeah.
Wow.
That makes it almost impossible unless you're selling crack for real, and you got a profit margin. You know what I'm saying? That's amazing.
Right.
You know, almost like furniture, right? Then you're not going to make a profit, and you'll literally be upside down. And here's another little key piece of information I could tell people that I mentor is that every deal has to live on its own. Let me say that again. Every deal has to live on its own. You cannot take money from other deals to fund a current deal. You can't, and you never should.
Right.
So you have to basically push back on this store and say, look, you can try me out, but I need about 200 stores so I can get this distributor involved. Otherwise, guess what? You will be distributing. I'm sorry, you will be servicing these stores yourself. So now you've created a job for yourself. And that's something that I actually went through, because I was from the mindset of, well, you get me in the store, I'll hustle. You know what I'm saying? Hustle hard. That's what it's about. So, but what I did not realize at the time was that there was no foresight into, okay, so what does the next phase look like?
Right.
If we do good in these 10 stores, do we get 1,000 stores? I said, well, no, we're going to grow you slowly. So you're going to perpetuate this problem of not having a distribution company involved. So, and that's exactly what I ran into with one of the retailers I'm actually in. So I encourage people that if you cannot have it, if you don't, I'm sorry, when you're crafting these deals and these buyers like, oh, we're excited about your product, we can't wait to get you in because we got this, diversity initiative, and we're glad to have you here. You got to lean in on them and say, hey, how are you gonna get my product from my warehouse to your stores? Because it should really be their problem. It's because you're a product owner, and you need to say, hey, I make products. I'm not a logistics company. Okay. Right. I can make the product, whatever you need, as much as you want, no problem.
Right.
And I can have it sitting at the dock for you. Now you got to figure out how it's gonna come get from my dock to your store
without charging you to do it.
Well, no, you're going to be charged for it because logistics, you got to pay for gas. This is what it is. But when you figure out your wholesale pricing, you always price it so that way you can cover these fees. And I had somebody tell me one time that you have to set your prices high enough so that way it draws attention, but yet it's still low enough to cover everything.
Well, when I said without charging, I'm referring to that $500 stocking and merchandise.
Oh, okay. From the DSD companies. Yeah.
I'm referring to. But I'm so glad you're sharing this, Brother Dondre, because it's helping me, and I'm sure our viewers understand why so many of our brands don't make it into these stores. And it also lets us know, or gives us a better idea of where some of these social justice funds that are floating around post Brother George Floyd, may God be pleased with him, where that money really needs to go. And there's an opportunity there that there needs to be an agency that perhaps links the distributor to these stores. And that cost does not find its way onto the business owner who's trying to place their product, but it comes out of that social justice funding, because the reason why I say that is because the likelihood that these distributing companies are going to rearrange how they do business is slim to none. Likewise, when it comes to these stores, right? If you create this intermediary that becomes the liaison between the distributor and the stores to help make that process of diversity and inclusion more feasible and also streamline it, then perhaps that can also take and relieve business owners from some of that financial commitment out of these social justice funds, because the money is there. The money is there for a lot of these organizations that are donating money. The money is there. Now, where the money is going, but the money is there. And so for those who are receiving said money, perhaps this is something that they need to look into to help business owners really sincerely become included in these stores, because you know, you can't do Amazon for everything. You know, you want to be where people shop. Now, how does that relate to, now, obviously you have your big chains, right? How does this process relate when you're talking about what I grew up calling local bodegas? Like, how do you get, is that still going through the same distributors, or is that a separate process?
No, so there's a wholesale process where the local bodegas or the mom and pop shops or whatever can actually just order from us directly, and then we just ship it through through UPS or what have you. Okay. But there's one other facet I want to mention, you know, kind of piggybacking on what you said. And, you know, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but when it's just blatant in your face, you know, you got to call it what it is. I feel like some of these retailers who make these large initiatives and say, hey, we're going to spend, you know, $2 billion with, you know, black owned, or not just black owned, minority owned businesses.
Yes.
They make these real big initiatives, but then they create these gaps. And then they'll tell the customer, well, we thought it was going to be a good program for this one particular product, but, you know, they're just too small of a company. We couldn't, you know, they just couldn't keep up. And see, that's the lie. That's such a lie. And so it's like, even with these retailers I deal with, they'll call me a small business. I'm like, how dare you? That's an insult to me. Not a small business. I said, just because I don't have 200 people working for me doesn't make me small. The real problem is something that you've created. So I mean, and I like to use the analogy of date night, right? It's like telling your significant other, hey baby, we're gonna have date night, right? Right. It's gonna be me and you girls, we're gonna have a good time, you know what I'm saying? But yet you make no plans for it. You make this huge declaration and there's no plans, there's no infrastructure, there's nothing to support that initiative, right? That's what a lot of these companies have done. And so there's a huge gaping gap. And then they will tell the customers, I'm sorry, I guess they're just too small. And it's like, well, no, we can supply the demand. Why aren't you doing more to A, bring us in through your distribution centers, or B, you already do business with local DSD companies. Why aren't you making that a part of the onboarding process? Right? Because they have teams that onboard you. Why aren't you giving us a list of the local DSD companies that are in our area that we can leverage? They're not even doing that. They're just saying, figure it out. And if you don't figure it out enough time, I'm going to pull your product.
So now, do the minority business, I think it's, what is it? No, it's the diversity. What is it?
Are you talking about MBE?
Yes. What is it?
Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord, don't get me started. Woo!
Can you please help me with a lifeline? What is the name of the organization?
Was it the minority business? Is it not enterprise? It's diversity. It feeds into a larger acronym. I think it's NS something like that. National Society of Minority Businesses, something like that.
I get them confused sometimes. So I thought that was the whole premise behind having associations like that, is that they're supposed to also help intervene. And
man, if I shake my head any harder, I'm gonna give myself whiplash. Nah, that's another smoke and mirror. And then you got to pay for it. And see one thing that upsets me, right, is that they will actually tell you, no, they'll make you fill out all this documentation, right? And this is just for the certification to say you're a minority-owned business. And all you technically need is your articles of incorporation, or your bylaws, what have you, and your driver's license. 2 documents. Why does this MBE program need my financials, my tax history, my address where I live, and all this other information? And then $400 on top of that. Why is it? And it's an annual fee. And then you got to keep recertifying every year. So I got to keep proving I'm a minority? Come on, man. And then they have these huge conferences. Now, mind you, I've already told you, probably about 95% of the diversity inclusion programs for all these companies are smoke and mirrors. So what do you think a big old conference of supply diversity programs are? What's that called? I call it a magician show, because that ain't nothing but a huge facility of smoke and mirrors. None of that's real, because you submit your products, you do all this stuff they tell you to do. You got a network or whatever, which is interesting, because if this agency is structured to connect you to supply diversity program, that is their sole purpose, then why are you having to do so much work to make these connections?
It should be an introduction.
It should be real easy. Let's go back to Dondre's. I like to call it Dondre's just piecing it together. So we have a supplier diversity. We have a product owner who is a minority. Right. We have an MBE program that's certified, that you paid money into, who has access to all the supply diversity programs in the country. So you should be able to say, well, I want to be in this store, in this store, in this store, in that store. And they say, okay, well, that's Josh, Ken, Becky, and Steven. And they just make that connection. You get into their pilot program, and it's easy.
Or the alternative is to prepare you to be able to have that introduction. Because
not all companies are ready.
Not all companies are ready. Now, Symphony Chips is ready. But for those who are coming on board that may have even come before you or after you, they may not have known everything they needed to have to be ready for that introduction, right?
For retail. And that's something else that the MBE program does not do. They don't make sure that you have everything necessary to move into retail, because there's things you have to have. You have to have your barcode, and you have to have your supply chain done. Your packaging has to be done. All these things have to be ready for retail, and you have to be priced effectively. So these are all things you have to be able to do, and have to have that up front. And they don't do any of those things. You're basically just giving these people your money, and they just, thank you.
And I think it depends. I think it also depends on the industry, because some industries, especially if they decide that they're going to partner with you in some way, like for example with Coca-Cola, they actually have their own internal training program for their vendors. So, and because I know people who do some of that training, so I know for a fact they have programs. And I'm not bigging up Coca-Cola by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just stating that there are companies for their own reasons.
Yeah, they have incubator for programs,
right, that help to ready you for their specific need, right? And so, but what we're looking at, and this is what makes places like RICE so critical to us as Black business owners, is developing an organization that can help to ready us within our various industries. Because like you said, your need for readying your business is going to be different from my need of readying ours, right? So the process to getting us, we're going through this right now, getting our our orchard where it needs to be is going to be a different process. We're dealing with USDA. You're dealing with a completely different agency to be able to get where you are. And of course, there are things that overlap, but for the most part, our tracks are going to be different. And we need people who know something about those tracks to be able to give us decent to do. Are any of the Lays and some of these other major corporations, are they offering any type of diversity training within their organizations to help maybe not as large of brands that are trying to find their way into the market? Is that anywhere in that diversity program that some of these organizations are saying they're carrying?
I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I can't get the word right. Specifically, no, I don't know that answer specifically. But you know, I will say to your point, yeah, you know, being ready for retail or just whatever it is you want to do is very important. But one thing we have not talked about is the money. Where does the money come from for you to do these things, right? I mean, some people say, well, we can give you access to capital, right? And that they say, well, you ain't got to worry about it because there'll be this access to capital, and you'll have the money you need to do the things that you want and need to do. A lot of these companies, however, like I said, they want let's take a step back. You get into retail, right? And they say, okay, we got you in here. You figured out your distribution. Okay, cool. Now we're just going to try you out in 10 stores. Okay. But let's say you get saddled with that $500, delivery fee. Well, where's the money come from for you to be able to pay for that while this, takes off? That money got to come from somewhere. So are you still working your 9 to 5 to cover it? Or wouldn't it be great if you had a company that you could go to and say, hey, listen, I'm an emerging brand and I got my act together and I would love you to invest money or give me a nice sizable loan so I can continue this pilot program for however long it takes, right? So one, that doesn't exist. Two, when you're dealing with let's say under 50 stores, most of the time, the so-called access to capital people won't deal with you because your POs aren't large enough. They'll say, well, we don't deal with you unless you got $50,000. I'm like, what? But you said in a presentation that you were the bridge. You were the what's it called? Yeah, you were bridging the gap. And I can come to you when I get my first PO and you would finance it for me. Because now another thing that these large retailers will do is they will set you into a net terms, meaning net payment terms when they pay you of like net 45, net 60, net 90. But yet all of your suppliers in your supply chain are all net 30 or less.
So you have to pay your bills, but yet your money, your revenue is not coming in at the same rate. I definitely understand that, brother.
So now where do you get money from?
Right.
Because, to your point, these incubator programs that these specific companies have, they'll say, well, they give you a little cute number, which is like $10,000. And some people, that's a whole lot of money. Okay. But when you're talking about a large retailer, let's say like a Walmart or whatever, who has a few thousand stores, we'll just say a few hundred stores. Well, okay. So how do you fulfill that order? Right. When they say they give you this PO and say, hey, you're in, here's the PO, I got you. You say, okay, cool. You talk to your supply chain, like, yeah, no problem. But we're going to need our money in 30 days. And you say, well, gosh, my PO is only for $49,999. And that access to capital people, they say, well, man, if it was just 50,000, we'd have you. But sorry, man, you're too small. So that's another way where another point of failure that nobody's really addressing. Like, okay, so when this happens, how do I actually scale my business from a cash flow perspective? Now, okay, I don't say nobody, but these institutions that we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to get these degrees are not teaching that. You might be teaching it, and other people like you, even myself, I teach it, but the people that are gaining the most money from this, because I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure when people come to your class, they haven't given you $250,000 just to learn about business. No. That's probably no. But these other people who are capitalizing on the ignorance that's out there. I don't even want to use ignorance. They'll just say people just don't know because you're learning. But I just think that it's so disappointing when there's no true. Now, granted, while everybody's pathway is different, a lot of it's the same. You have cash flow issues. How do I bridge those gaps with cash flow? And that's something that I'm running into as well. But luckily, I found a few scenarios to kind of help me through it. But again, nobody is really, wrapping their arms around people to say, hey, let's get you. This is what point A looks like. Now let's get you to point B. And these are the type of things you're going to need. And then pulling those resources together. So that way, now the business owner has the ability, he or she can make those decisions around, hey, do I want to go with an investor or am I looking for some kind of debt vehicle that will get me over this next gap?
Wow. Brother Dondre, we have run out of time, brother.
What? I got more to tell. I haven't told people how to get into the retailers. Well, I guess they got to come find me.
they're either gonna come find you, or really, I have to invite you back. That's where we are. We got to find out, how do we build a Carter of potato chips. So I got to invite you back.
Yeah, invite me back. I could be a speaker on a platform as well, and I can tell them how they get in the side door in retail. There's a side door that don't nobody know about.
Ooh, that sounds wonderful. You know what? And I'm glad you said that, because we have had a brother from season 1 who opened himself up to BBI Talk specifically to start teaching about contracting for those who go after contracts as general contractors. And he owns a multi-billion-dollar steel company. And so this brother has opened the doors to teaching my viewers how to go through that process successfully. And so one of the things that my husband and I, my business and purpose partner, have been thinking about is how to harness all of these things under one umbrella. And so perhaps that's something that you may consider, brother, is coming in with us, on the whole unity tip, and all of us kind of develop a training program where we can help each other get through these processes in these various industries, because we're at a time now where this is the most money that has been flooding into our community in probably this decade, I know, at least. And so now we need to learn creative ways of how to leverage what is coming in. First, also identifying where the money is going, because we keep seeing a lot of these checks being written from a lot of these companies, and it's like, okay, you wrote a check, but I didn't get it.
I heard about a check, heard about the money.
And I'm gonna give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. So Black farmers, they call it, what is it, BPOC, right? It's a Black farming initiative that's supposed to help Black farmers acquire land that was taken from us, right? As well as to help up and coming or new farmers find their pathway into land ownership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all heard President Biden in the news approve it, and he approved the funding. But then when you call your local agency, I don't know what you're talking about. There is no money set aside specifically for Black people. So once again, there's that gap. So that gap you're talking about is a gap I really venture to say is probably in existence in every industry where we are. And so the only way that we're going to be able to really go after it is to go after it collectively. And so that's what we're on, sharing what we know. And then of course for a fee, because we have to be able to be in a position to continue what we're doing. So, and it's not sustainable doing it for free. That's the reality of what we are living. Now we will give all we have by way of information. We're going to lay it all on the table, but it cannot be for free.
Not be for free.
Not going to be for free. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't even want anyone to feel some type of way about it not being free, because the reality of it is, if you can't afford to pay us for the information, then you can't afford to move in that industry, because at some point you're going to have to learn that information, and either you're going to learn it from losing your money, or you're going to learn it from paying someone for the information so that you can advance yourself.
Skin in the game. You got to have some skin in the game. That's how I see it.
In the game. So I'm going to give you the closing thoughts, Brother Dondre. If you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody how to get in contact with you, Symphony chips, how we can get our hands on the different varieties of Symphony chips before we head out of here.
Absolutely. So you can definitely find us online. We're at symphonychips.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, all Symphony Chips. So definitely, please check us out. Continue to follow us as we introduce these new products. We will definitely let everybody know. And we also have a newsletter, so you should definitely subscribe. So that way you can subscribe on our website. So that way, when new things come out, you'll be the first to know about it.
Awesome. Well, I thank you, Brother Dondre Anderson of Symphony Chips, for being on BBI Talks. This has been fun. It has been informative and inspiring. Like, I'm about to get my advocacy on. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm about to go out there and do it again. Just hit the ground running. That's right. That's right. Every day we have to be about this advocacy, because if no one else is going to champion our cause better than us.
Further together.
I'm telling you. But I thank you, dear brother. Please thank your beautiful daughters and your father and tell him we said Happy Father's Day, because Father Day here is 365, not one day. So please
it don't stop. The beat don't stop.
And happy Father's Day to you, Black man. We thank you so much for just being who you are and continuing to love on your daughters. And that's a beautiful thing to witness, just the children flourish because they have been warmed by the light of your love. So I will talk to everybody. We'll see you next week, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same locations, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And of course, if you missed all the live presentations, don't fret. We are also on Anchor and Spotify and Google Play. So if you want to catch up on season 1, or if you want to catch up on some of the episodes of season 2, you can check us out there. Look, had my little Bronx moment. Yeah. Okay. So without further ado, I am your host, Professor KARRIEMAH Lotus, and this is BBI Talks, the platform where Black business owners and leaders discuss issues that matter to us. Peace.
We gotta bring businesses back. My business is black. My business is black as the universe. I know why they mad, they gotta react, cause we're universal influencers. I can supply you the man, get what I need out the land. The earth is the kingdom of God. Glad that I know where I am. We gotta bring businesses back. My business is black. My business is black as the universe. I know why they mad, they gotta react, cause we're universal influencers. I can supply you the man. I can supply you the man. Get what I need out the land. Glad that I